What's going on, everybody? I got my week finished. Last week I had the best week I've had yet in truck driving. I think last week I took home 5,000. Hold on, it was 5,290, give or take. And I think that was a gross of 9,225. So I'm gonna get into this week. I took a week off after that, and then I went back out this week. So I'm gonna break down what I did when I started this week. I started my week in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and my first load was picking up in Statesville, North Carolina, which is 44 miles away. So I went 44 miles to Statesville and picked up a load that was going to Dalton, Georgia. That load to Dalton, Georgia, it was actually kind of light. I think it was like 20,000 pounds. It was art supplies, and it went 329 miles to Dalton, Georgia, and that load paid $1,500. That is a loaded mile rate of $4.56 per mile. Now, when I got down there, this was on Tuesday, I believe. When I got down there, I had another load that was booked in Marietta, Georgia, and that's about an hour south of there. Make a long story short, I booked that load for $2,700. I went down there. They told me that the load wasn't going to be ready until like Friday. And I'm like, it's Tuesday. I don't know if I can do that. Make a long story short, I had to get that load canceled, and I got a truck order not used. I'll make a video about what a truck order not used is and how that can be helpful sometimes. So I ended up parking down the road from Marietta in Atlanta at the Petro, and I booked another load the next day at 1 o'clock. So next load that I booked was and picked up in Birmingham that same day, and that was 100 miles away, and it was going to Woodland, Pennsylvania. That's 844 miles. They had it listed at 3,250. I booked it for 3,600. There's a reason why I went so high on it. Is number one, this is the business that you have to do. But two, I called, it was 1:30. I'm on the phone negotiating with this broker trying to say, hey man, do you want me to take this? I can make it. I have time to get there. I have time to do it. And the window was kind of tight too. You had to have a fresh clock to be able to do it. And I knew that as a driver. So I told him, I said, I can do it for 3,600. And they agreed. That one came to a rate of $4.11 per mile that I got on that load. And the load was only like 13,000 pounds. It was 13,000 pounds. It was Sterlite, so it was plastic containers. But it was floor loaded, and I'll tell you about that later. But I picked that one up. I made the delivery, and everything worked out good. From Woodland, Pennsylvania, I ended up delivering there, and I went to Williamsport, Pennsylvania, which was 86 miles from that Walmart delivery I mentioned. This and the load that I booked was going to Vero Beach, Florida. That pays $3,100 and was 1,122 miles. I feel like I probably could have done better on that rate, but when you're in Pennsylvania, from my experience, on a Friday, it's not the best place to be. It's hard to find loads going south. A lot of people book those loads. So I found a load that was going all the way to Florida, and it was paying more than $250 a mile. And I said, for me, it was worth taking because I've been stuck up there before, and I had such a good load before that I feel like I could afford to take this one. It wasn't that bad. And the fuel prices are cheaper down there once you get past Virginia. So I feel like it was worth it. That one paid $3,100. From Vero Beach, Florida, I got there Saturday at around, I got there Sunday night at 1 in the morning. So what I did was I went ahead and called an Uber down the road and got a hotel and went to the beach and went out to eat and had a good little time. Monday morning, that delivered, and I went to go pick up a load in Stuart, Florida. That was 34 miles from Vero Beach. And that load was going to Montgomery, Alabama, which is 591 miles. Again, on this one, I feel like I could have done better. But all of the loads in Florida that were good paying, because right now the Florida market's hot, all the ones that were paying good were going further than my clock would allow. I only had 11 hours on my clock, and I was going to be getting recaps back Tuesday night. So in order for me to be able to take one of those longer loads, two things would happen. One, I would not get that on my pay settlement this week. And two, I didn't have the hours of service. So I got that load here because I know I could make it in one day and it would be on my next day's pay. Kind of kicking myself about it, but you have to do what you have to do. That one paid $1,100 and it was $1.86. When Florida freight's not doing good, that's a great rate. But usually that load would probably go for $8.50 just because Florida is not a good market. Now, when you combine all of those gross revenues and you put it together, that means that my total revenue, including the truck order not used that I mentioned before from when the broker booked that Marietta load, came out to $9,450. Now, when you break that down, I get 90% of the load. So that's 9,450 multiplied by 0.9. That brings my gross earnings up to $8,505. Now I'm going to do something different this week. I'm going to break down how much I paid for fuel and an average on what I paid for fuel on average. So I'm going to go through all of them. First, one I got was $4.67 for $535. One was $4.69, $504 fill up. Another one was $5.72 a gallon, $228 I filled up. Another one was $4.38 a gallon, $572 I filled up. Another one was $4.25 a gallon, $467 I filled up. And the last one was $4.54 a gallon, and I filled up $462 worth of fuel. So that's a total fuel expense this week of $2,771.33. That's a lot of fuel. And I did pretty good on shopping for cheap fuel. But when you average all of those out, that's on average, I purchased fuel at $4.71 per mile. All right, now my other expenses. Remember I said I took a week off. So every week I still have to pay the trailer rent payment. I have to pay the insurance and things like that. That's about $600 a week. So I actually owed the carrier $600 for taking that week off last time. So that's a $1,200 deduction. So when you break down my pay this week, that comes out to $4,479.81. And that's with me paying $600 extra on what I owed the carrier from last week. So I'm very pleased with this week. I think I did great. If I wouldn't have taken off last week, my paycheck would have been $5,100 again, $5,179. But I think it was a good week. I'm happy with myself. I feel like I could have done better coming out of Florida. I also feel like I could have done better on that Florida load. I probably could have got $3,600 out of that Florida load. I could have, but I didn't want somebody else to grab that load and then I'm stuck in Pennsylvania. Because if you're stuck in Pennsylvania on Friday and Saturday, you don't have a lot of options. You're kind of screwed. Pennsylvania is similar to Florida and Colorado and other places in a way that it can be dead if you get there at the wrong time. But overall, I'm pleased with that. I'm happy with $4,479 on the week. That's 2,800 loaded miles. It looks like, let's see, 144 plus 80 is about 230, plus 34 is about 300. So my deadhead was about 300 miles, so maybe 3,100 miles total, 2,800 miles loaded. I feel good about this. So stay tuned for more owner-operator videos, and I'll be happy to help you if that's something you want to get into.